Good evening, everyone. It's another week for us to get going here. I am joined instead with Marshall. I am here with Brian, a little bit of a different take today. So I want to see what happens with a little bit of different faces, kind of keep going forward. So welcome, Brian, and look forward to our chat tonight.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we want to go over the Alpha platform a little bit more with a different face, different perspective. You are one of the first people to kind of load content, and I kind of wanted to see how you approach this, how you approach the platform, and how you think your kind of insider ways that you go about it can help people post on the platform further. And then better yet, I believe you're going to go through a little bit of the platform from your perspective as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of neat because I've been part of Atheneum for a couple of years now, but I'm on the corporate partner side. I do own a chain of tanning salons. And so as a business owner, I have insight into what are the pain points for a company like mine. So we have about 30 employees. Atheneum, I think, is a great solution for any type of business that has anywhere from 10 to 1,000 employees. I think it can scale very well, but it also adds a lot of value for even smaller companies. We can get into that kind of the nuts and bolts of that. But I do think that I have an interesting perspective because I know what we're trying to build on the platform side, but I also understand what type of things as a person that does training and train new employees, train existing employees. I do hiring and all that kind of stuff. I have a perspective on that. So yeah, and that's why I think the corporate training portion of Atheneum is going to be very significant. While I think most people that are in the community are most excited about the learn portion, because that's really cool. That's that's where the revolution is really going to happen. I think the business model side of the corporate partners is a very viable concept as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. The biggest thing that anyone that's in either a simple job, running a company, entrepreneur, the way that training is progressing right now in the overall industry, really doesn't matter what kind of job you're doing, especially with this next generation. They have grown up around smart devices, technology absolutely everywhere. So it's going to be about which companies and which brands are able to adapt, not just keep trying to shove the same techniques over and over. It's really repetitive, and younger people honestly are going to respond in different ways. And so I think it's people's jobs, like we're doing, to find ways of promoting a better and more efficient learning system, which is what we're already seeing, and it's pretty cool to, even with just yours. Granted, it may not be something I'm interested in directly. However, it's really neat to see how the potential could flow. It's fascinating how it gives you the ability to possibly not only meet with said instructor, but you can just take certain business ideologies that might not be even related to the field you're in, but help apply to something else. So that's what I think is really cool. But if you want to go ahead and start going through some of the alpha from your perspective, I think it'd be pretty cool to see it.
Cool. Absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen in just a second, but one of the things that I like to, I want to preface it with why we think the corporate training side is such an important aspect is because, again, even at a company my size with, kind of a medium small business with 30 employees, 35 employees that are kind of our busy times, training, because of turnover, you're going to have turnover in any kind of business, but especially as the larger the business you are, the more turnover, the more consistent new training you're going to be doing, and obviously retraining and HR training and all sorts of things that you're going to do. That's very time consuming. And as we all know, time in business is money. For our company, we deal with our new employees are anywhere from minimum wage plus commission to about $15 an hour plus commission, our new employees. And our managers, the people that train them, are quite a bit higher than that. So when somebody's new to our company, not only are we paying them during the training process, but we're also usually taking a manager or one of our top salespeople off the sales floor and putting them on as a trainer. So we're essentially paying two people to do nothing proactive for the business at that time in a sales sense. But we are, obviously it's kind of a necessary thing that you need to do. But what we've equated, that a new employee costs our company anywhere from $500 to about $1,500 just in the training process. So for us, it's very expensive to hire, and businesses don't usually calculate that. They don't understand that cost of a new employee, because they think of it as, okay, I'm paying this person whatever they're paying, the minimum wage or $15 an hour, whatever it happens to be. Okay, I'm paying them for 30 hours of training. That's the cost of what training is. No, it's much more than that. It's lost revenue, again, by taking your top salespeople off the floor to do the training, or, managers that are supposed to be focused on scheduling and things like that are now also focused on training. So the actual dollar value that we can provide to companies by streamlining and helping create a lot of efficiency in their training process is going to be huge. So anytime you can provide a business with value, that just shows proof of concept or value for your platform. So anyways, that's again why I'm pretty excited about this component of it. Let's jump in here. Let me do my screen share right here. So as you see on our alpha, we have one box lit up here. It's our corporate training. And when you come in here as a student, you're going to jump in. And so we're going to take my company, Perfect Tan. And like you said, Marcus, tanning's probably not your thing. I was nervous when I was talking to the rest of the core team, saying, hey, I'm fine with my business being the the test monkey here. But do you think the crypto community, which is probably not a tanning community, they said, you know what, it doesn't really matter. It almost kind of helps highlight, taking a business that's a little bit out of left field. And it shows a little bit more of the real world utility. But anyways, so we come in here and you're going to be essentially, I like to call this the classroom. So we're in the Perfect Tan corporate training classroom. A corporate partner can insert as many modules as they want for their training. Again, as much of their training as they can automate, that's dollars back in their pocket. Not only because they've created a systematic strategy for how they train their employees, which shockingly, a lot of companies don't have a formulated system in place. Again, at my size, the smaller businesses don't have this. And we've begun to survey a lot of medium-sized and even larger businesses, and you'd be surprised. I had a meeting recently with a large builder in Southern California. They do about $200 million in revenue per year. And there are some really gaping holes in their hiring strategy. For example, they hire engineers, so people that come from these really prestigious schools. And I asked the HR manager, I said, when was the last time you called a registrar's office and asked for a certification or a record of the diploma? Sorry, my throat's a little scratchy here. And she said, she smirked a little bit, and she said, I've been the hiring person here for the last 10 years, and I've actually never checked. I've never called the registrar's office to validate that somebody's actually graduated from the college, whatever college and whatever honors they graduated with and they put on their resume. She took it at face value. And let me remind you, this company has a really robust hiring process. Their HR process is really extensive, but there's holes like that in even major companies' processes. And so Atheneum actually has the ability to patch up some of those holes for these companies, which is pretty cool.
It's actually an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really thought about it that way either, but it's kind of weird how many people don't actually check what's on a resume is accurate. They're looking for keywords, but college is, a big deal for so many people, and you spend time and money going through it, but I haven't come across a lot of that either, where they actually are digging into your background to actually verify everything that you're giving them. I mean, yes, background checks are done in a lot of bigger companies and things, but how deep are they actually looking to see what is accurate?
Well, and just to show how robust their hiring process is, because they do a lot of they build high schools, they do these big projects, these multi-million dollar projects. And if they're working on a high school or renovating a high school, everybody in their company that's on that site has to be live scanned. So basically making sure that they have an up-to-date background check to make sure they're not a sexual predator or they have any other felonies or anything like that. So they go that in depth in every area, except for they overlook these really kind of seemingly basic ones. So that's what Atheneum, that's part of the value pitch that Atheneum has for again, large companies, small companies, is, hey, we can help you find inefficiencies in your hiring process, in your training process, in your retraining process. And the blockchain and the Atheneum platform are going to provide a lot of those tools for you. So very, very exciting stuff. And so as we're beginning to pitch some of these corporate partners, we're seeing their eyes light up, and they're saying, you know what, this is really exciting stuff. We would love to be able to use a platform like Atheneum to validate these things. So anyways, kind of getting carried away on that. But as far as going through the alpha here, going back to kind of the nuts and bolts like we were talking about, module 1 here, and that you could have 1,000 modules if that's what your training needed. For Perfect Tan, we're going to keep building this out. We're going to have about probably 20 modules total. So if you want to be a certified Perfect Tan associate, you guys are more than welcome to come get qualified on here. But like you said, Marcus, some of the interesting stuff is we're going to put sales courses on here. We're going to put some of our customer service courses on here. And while that's not relevant to everybody, as far as, selling a Perfect Tan package, we are going to do some generalized sales courses that have value for anything you're selling. I mean, we ask every one of our new salespeople, we have them do the whole, sell me this pen type of routine. That we get into general sales, because if you can sell a pen, you can sell a tanning package, you could sell a car, you can sell all sorts of things if you understand the fundamentals. And so our training courses actually have real world application for other types of businesses. And this is one of the exciting things that I see for Perfect Tan in the future, or not for Perfect Tan, for Atheneum in the future, is the ability for companies to monetize their training content. So for example, as the CEO of Perfect Tan, I've gone around and trained other tanning salons on sales, on marketing in Southern California. I travel around and I've consulted for other tanning businesses. Well, what I could do is I could put Perfect Tan's training content, if I wanted to. If I want to keep it proprietary, I can on Atheneum. I can keep it private. But if I want to sell and monetize my content, I could sell my training courses. And if I had a good enough reputation, there would be significant money in that. People would want to take a Perfect Tan sales course if it grew in a reputation. Now, that sounds silly, like, oh, I learned my sales through a tanning salon. Well, let's juxtapose this a little bit. What if a company like, say, Chick-fil-A put some of their customer service courses up for sale? That would be a hot commodity, right? So companies that have really good branding behind aspects of their business, they might want to keep it proprietary, but they also might see that as a way to monetize content that they already have. So there's a lot of interesting nuances to this platform that we can explore, that companies have already shown interest in. And again, that's a value for the company that wants to monetize their training information. But it's also a value to another, say, in this case, a small tanning salon that doesn't have a very good training program. They could come along and they could buy our training material and use it for their people entirely. And so it gives them a very kind of robust training program without having to develop it themselves. So that's a pretty interesting idea as well.
Actually, sorry,
I told you I keep going on these tangents, man. I really like Atheneum.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that videos like this, or chats, don't always have to be choreographed and questioned ahead of time. Sometimes it's nice to just talk and brainstorm, because as you're talking, I'm jotting down notes, or I'm thinking, and I hope other people are as well, because they almost turned like a podcast in a way as well, and it's just fascinating. But the concept of monetized training by a corporation or a company, like the whole Chick-fil-A thing, that is something I actually never thought about as heavily as what you just said. Is that you're not necessarily giving away your secrets, but it's a simple thing like how they train all of their their people to talk about it's my pleasure. Like that concept is known pretty much everywhere as that's a Chick-fil-A brand. But I'd be curious to see if they made videos surrounding that, not kind of giving people permission to use the same exact concept, but why they use it. And then companies can then pay for those training courses. That's a whole new revenue stream I didn't even think about, honestly. Yeah. And if you're already building your training courses, why not try to get as much out of them as possible? Like you said, it costs us an X amount of money to train a new person at your business. You can account for that cost by then selling said information or modules. That's just fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's when we talk about a marketplace and a platform, companies are literally going to be able to participate in a marketplace of training. I mean, it's going to not only be an avenue for revenue, but it's an avenue for other content, for other ideas and exchange of ideas. And that's kind of what the internet and the principles of blockchain. I know you're kind of a blockchain purist like I am. And, we look at things as being open source and things like that. So yes, there's going to be companies, when you're dealing with businesses, that are going to want to keep things proprietary and things secret, like you said. But there's kind of those open secrets, like you were talking about, and those are the things that's, if Chick-fil-A could, or any type of business that has a good brand behind it, or maybe they don't have a big brand yet, but developing their reputation within Atheneum could build up their brand. Just like there's people on YouTube that weren't famous anywhere else, they built their brand within YouTube, and now they have this really kind of tangible name behind them, and they've been able to monetize that. Same thing is going to happen with Atheneum. Companies are going to have good reputations on Atheneum and will have the choice to maybe do one-on-one trainings, or sell their content, or all sorts of avenues that can open up. I mean, some of these brainstorming meetings we've had within the development team, within the marketing team, I mean, it gets really exciting, the functionality that will be built into this platform, and is already, because you're seeing the alpha here, is already being built into the platform. So anyways,
No,
any more questions before we move on, man? Sorry.
not too much. I mean, just kind of just out loud brainstorming, because um, again, the viability, the possibilities, everything is just, if this really does kind of move forward in the direction I think it will be going, and it's kind of just taking into account the way you're talking about brands and communities, and the way things flow and knowledge, things like that. If I am, working in a job like sales, and I'm taking, modules either through a different platform or this one, I'm learning how to do the job, but then the company recommends, hey, you can search out X, Y, and Z brand, and they do really good videos on confidence. That way, I don't need to, as a company, waste time making my own ones, but I can then
Exactly.
just possibly just pay a shortened amount to the actual person that does those videos. It's not a copyright thing because they're not yours. You're just paying for the rights technically, but it
Yep.
just turns into this giant web, which again is how knowledge is supposed to flow on the internet. I mean, look at how people learn with YouTube nowadays, but at the same time, are those people getting the payment or the recognition they deserve? I don't think a lot
Right.
of them do. There's some amazing content out there that could then be used by so many different brands, but people just see YouTubers and videos now, maybe not as accurate, or some of them get political or whatever it might be. But if you're able to certify it either with, badges or other things, or make sure that they're actual things that are accurate and true, then that just keeps moving, and it just keeps moving. And that whole thing, it's crazy. It's like a giant spider's web.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it really just, one possibility is kind of almost that network effect within the ideas. It's one possibility opens up more possibilities, and I think you raised a good question, and you also answered it. But just so people listening in catch that, we've gotten that before, and even in our own discussions, we're like, well, are we really going to be able to distinguish ourselves between a YouTube and what Athenium is? Our business is going to say, well, I could just do all this stuff, put my content for my company on YouTube, and then I have a place where my video content is set up. And the answer is very simple, and you answered it. It's the validation, it's the certification. Everything you learn on YouTube, you can never go put that on a resume anywhere, because one, nobody's going to take that very seriously. Like, oh, I learned how to do graphic design on YouTube. But also, there's no validation. You just basically said, I watched a video on it, but there was no testing. There was no testing component. There was no certification that showed I absorbed that information. And so that's what's so revolutionary. It's such a simple solution, but it's such a revolutionary solution, is the validation, is the testing, is the implementation of it on the back end. And then also recording it on what, we've talked about this a lot, but this idea of the smart resume, proof of learning, which is going to come online in one of the future iterations of Athenium, is this ability to record everything you've ever learned in one place. So you can show every course you've ever taken, all, as much information as you want to give to a prospective employer. You're going to have the most dynamic resume that you could possibly have. Resumes right now are really not that good. They're not very dynamic, but the Atheneum resume, the smart resume, is going to be really impressive. It's going to show everything you've ever learned, which, if you think about it, we've learned so much stuff. We've learned so much more than just what we've learned on the job and just what we've learned in school. And so you're going to be able to account for that and show it in a real tangible way, with your, basically blockchain record of that. Bless you. But yeah, so it's exciting. I mean, that's I think what's cool about the alpha is we can click around and we can basically see the bones of what's happening. This isn't, the alpha is not showing all these crazy things, these really fun ideas we're getting into. It's showing the bones. It's showing the structure that's allowing that framework to happen. So, but yeah, anyways, let's kind of continue on.
Yeah,
And
if you want to go ahead and we'll go ahead, and there's a couple other things. So for everyone listening, I thought it'd be interesting for us to kind of split this into a short little bit of the alpha and our ideas and brainstorming. But there's also some things that, happening in the crypto space in general, and just some interesting things that I've found, possibly Brian has found. I think it'd be fun to talk about, kind of get in a habit once a week talking about them even more, because there's always something going on. Even if the price isn't moving, I can guarantee you there's something going on. So I'd definitely love to go just a few quick loop things. But as you're doing that, you just said something else that got me really thinking, and that is, so many people in the last couple of years have honestly been scammed pretty hard by people on YouTube who classify themselves as not necessarily just crypto, but trading in general. It's like, I've been in this space for this long. I am an expert stock trader. But there's actually nothing that is validating that. And I think that's one of the issues that a lot of the companies or SEC laws are kind of having a problem is, there's no way of knowing if these people actually went through the proper course training. And so instead of going through school or going through an entire MBA process or things like that, you could actually have a certification through our platform by going through certain courses and then passing them, which then kind of validates your credibility. Hey everyone, I know it's a little different than usual, but just wanted to let everyone know, me and Brian actually made a much longer video than what you're about to watch right here. I decided to divide the videos up a little bit and just make two different ones. So I'll link the other one in the description below or at the end of the video. The first part's a normal fireside chat. We go through the platform from Brian's perspective, but the second part is going to be a little bit different. We're trying something a little bit outside of our zone of what we've been doing. So let us know how you guys like it. We're hopefully going to keep making content like that, where you want to start talking about things not directly related to Atheneum, but maybe the entire space or things not related. So stay tuned and let us know again how much you guys enjoyed or any suggestions you guys might have.